Hey, this is Meredith Elliott Powell, and I know it is Wednesday afternoon, 5 o'clock Eastern. What are you doing with sales logic on LinkedIn? But I'm hanging out here with my buddy Mark Hunter, ready to talk about a pretty hot topic today. Mark, what do we got on board?
Yeah, the topic is hot. Why salespeople struggle with prospecting. Oh, the one that sends shivers down. We've got a great question, and we got a great book, and we got a great lightning round. So, hey, why don't we start the show?
Let's do it. I'll hit the video and we will rock and roll.
Prospect with integrity, we will get customers who have integrity. Integrity is the foundation from which everything is built on.
You better understand value. But at the end of the day, sales is a relationship business. It is a people business. It is an emotional business.
This is Sales Logic.
This is Sales Logic. So, Mark, are you home in Dallas today?
I am home in Dallas, and you're in one of the towns, many towns that I used to live in, Minneapolis, right?
Oh, that's right. I forgot you used to live here. Gosh, you've lived all over the country.
I have lived. I'm wanted in more states than yeah. So yeah, it's a great city. 1 month out of the year when they call it summer. So no,
yeah, that's right. Well, I'm lucky enough to be here at that time of year. I just left DC earlier this morning. Have a little gig up here and home for the weekend. But Mark, we got a big show today. Let's start off with. You already told everybody what the topic is going to be. We're going to talk about prospecting today and why it's such a struggle. But what's our question?
Well, the question comes from Andy in Boston. He asks, I've got 2 people on my enterprise sales team who just won't prospect. All they do is make excuses. And I think it comes down to one thing. They're scared to do it because they think they'll be exposed as being lousy. What's the best way to deal with this?
Interesting. It's interesting to me that you have people that won't prospect and somehow they're getting away with prospecting. So without doing it, I mean, aren't you the leader, Andy? Aren't you in charge? Aren't you the one that's basically holding them accountable? But let's break it down a little bit further. I mean, most people don't do things because they don't want to. Most people don't do things because they don't know how, or they've made it a bigger challenge. So I think where I would start, Andy, is figuring out what they're doing when it comes to prospecting, what they understand about prospecting, and more importantly, what they don't understand about prospecting.
Yeah. See, and I think it goes even deeper than that because I think there's a lot of, I've run across this on a number of occasions, enterprise sales reps who don't want to prospect because they've been brought up in an organization that is demand gen. In other words, the leads just come to them. The clients just come to them and all they have to do is close the deals. And suddenly they're in a business where they have to sales gen, where they got to generate their own sales. And that's suddenly they're exposed. And you know what's interesting? They're fearful because they're commanding a big salary. They got a great lifestyle. And they're suddenly going to be exposed to fraud. But I'll tell you what, Andy, this is your problem. You've got to own it. Because if you don't own it, you're going down with them, period. And this is, I see sales managers, what they do is they cover up for their salespeople. By then, they in turn make excuses. No excuses. You got to get on the phone every day. Prospecting is a muscle. It needs to be exercised.
But Mark, why, I guess I'm a little perplexed by this. Why is prospecting a struggle? I mean, I just don't think it's that complicated. I'm wondering what I'm missing.
I don't think it's complicated either. It's just pick up the phone and have a conversation. I mean, have you ever seen a headline where a salesperson has been murdered or shot or lost an arm because they were prospecting?
No, I have not seen that.
Yeah, it just doesn't happen. It's just a conversation. And yet I think so many times what happens is and I'm not going to throw this company under the bus, but there's a company with the initials of IBM. And right. Okay. So anyway, if you worked for them, if you sold for them, hey, IBM got you in anywhere, right? I mean, prospecting really wasn't prospecting. So then if you're at an organization like that, you suddenly go to another organization where they don't have that reputation, then it's like, oh, what do I do? But it's all it is just picking up the phone and having a conversation, because this is the challenge that people forget is sales begins with a relationship. You got to have a conversation. And all it is just asking them a question to engage them. It's not scary. It's not complicated, but enterprise salespeople in particular want to overcomplicate it. They want to set up grandiose systems because they're used to only closing a couple deals a year, we'll say, a couple big things. So what they do is they just want to just create this massive system, and they never get anywhere. Just start, just do it. Simplify the process.
Yeah, Bonnie, I think you're so right. It's a psychological phobia, and the more you prospect, the better you become at it. Now I'm going to give them a little bit of a benefit of a doubt. I mean, I remember when I first got into sales, prospecting did scare me. I mean, Mark, you say just pick up the phone, but I was raised in a family where you didn't pick up the phone. Like, we were never supposed to call my father at work. The only person who was allowed to answer the phone at dinner time was my father, because it might be, work related. So I had a weird phobia of the phone. So when I first started in sales, I used to prospect by defining my target market and then figuring out where I could connect and where I could meet them. And so even at a time when I didn't like necessarily cold calling, and to this day, I don't really like cold calling, but prospecting to me is a matter of saying, who do I choose to do business with, and where could I go to interact and connect with them? And from that, I don't think it's that complicated.
It's not. And again, so what you did was you went out, you met the people where they were.
Yeah.
And I remember years ago, I was doing work with Mercedes-Benz of Canada. And one of the things I was working with them on is, how do you create prospects? How do you create new Mercedes-Benz customers? And one of the things was, you do it at the country club, you do it at the coffee shop, you do it at the restaurant. As you pull in, somebody pulls in next to you with another, luxury, sedan of some sort. You get out, you strike a conversation with them. And it's going to where your customers are at and having conversation. But then you got to back it up further and say, who are my perfect customers?
Yeah, absolutely.
Because if you don't know who your perfect customer is in, then it is really cold. Then it is like, what am I doing? But I don't view it as cold calling. I view it as, I'm helping you. I have the ability to help you. And if I believe that I can help you, I have an obligation to reach out to you.
Yeah, and I think part of that is having a reason to prospect. I mean, Andy, I think that's another place that you could go with this. I mean, sometimes people are fearful to reach out because they don't know why they should reach out, or what or what they should say. How are they going to get that intro in with people? So I think that's a good place to start. Is a lot of times I'll find that people don't necessarily, they aren't fearful of making the call, but they're fearful of bothering people because they don't know the reason to make the initial attempt at contacting people.
And to me, that's a cheap excuse, because all you have to do is, there's this thing called the internet, like what we're broadcasting on here. And you go out to find so much information about anybody or any company, and you can quickly come up with a reason to make the call. And again, I go back to my premise that I tell everyone that struggles with prospecting. If you know you can help somebody, you have an obligation to reach out to them. And if you don't, you're doing them a disservice, and you're actually doing yourself a disservice too. But you're hurting them.
Yeah, I think, in fairness too, Andy, maybe some of these people have been trained in traditional prospecting ways to be trained. I mean, a lot of my issues around sales training in general is that it's been focused on how to hit a goal, how to increase the bottom line, how to help a division of a company grow. And that feels uncomfortable for most people. It feels sort of self-centered and selfish. If you can help people, like I always think of prospecting is, I've got to go out and I need to meet people that I can help and support. If they want to meet with me, great. But kind of like Mark just said, I've got an obligation. Like, I just did a presentation a couple of weeks ago to an organization, and it went really well. I had so many people from the audience come up and say, I can't believe how timely your information is. It was so valuable. So I just took that, and I took a couple of testimonials, and I reached out to a couple of sister associations. And I
Mhm.
said, I just spoke to these two. They
Yep.
seem to find a lot of value. I thought you might find value too. Now, if they don't, that's okay. But I thought this might be valuable. It might be helpful. I'll just give it a shot.
Well, and because you weren't just because it might. No, you knew you
Yeah.
could help those other associations because they lined up with the association that you spoke to. So it made absolutely sense. This is the challenge that I think salespeople have. They want to overcomplicate things, and it is just simple in nature. I'm going to use the example of trade shows. I will see organizations at trade shows, and you'll see the salespeople just standing in their booth. They won't step 6 inches outside their booth, right? Because they want you to come to them. And the really good ones, they're out they're walking the aisles. They're having other conversations with other people in other areas of the trade show. And again, prospecting is just a conversation. Like you did. You reached out to those other associations. Hey, I just did this. Thought it'd be appropriate for me to reach out to you. Yes, because you can help them. Yeah.
Yeah. I also think that prospecting is a time for you to interview people to decide if this is a right fit for you. You know, if you prospect really well and you do what you always say and to make it a lifestyle, not a task, then you have more moving through the pipeline than you probably need to move through the pipeline. And with more moving through that pipeline, you get to pick the best of the best. You get to pick the ones that are really a good fit for you. So, you know, prospect from a place of power rather than a place of need.
Oh, that's so true because it's amazing how when the pipeline's full, it's amazing how you're so much more confident. And it's kind of funny. I was trading emails with an enterprise sales rep this morning, who is one of the people being challenged with this issue. And he's got nothing in his pipe, nothing in his pipe, nothing. And, and it's like, hey, guy, all you have to do is start making the pro. And it was just walking him through simple steps to get activated. And I'll be following up with Andy because Andy's the one who asked me the question. And again, it's not. This comes back to why salespeople struggle with prospecting, is because they want to overcomplicate it. They want to think it's something that, well, if they just do great marketing, if marketing would just do this, I wouldn't have to prospect. Oh man, wow. Think
Yeah.
about that one.
Yeah. I also think I love what Bonnie said here too. She said, we're hardwired to overthink every step. I'm sure most people are. That overthinking has never been my challenge or has never been my particular problem. But you know, Mark, I know a couple of statements I want to make are going to be statements that you agree with, is that you should prospect whether you need to prospect or not, and is that it's just become something that you're doing all the time. Because prospecting, to me, I guess I don't understand why people don't like to do it, because when I control my prospecting, I control my pipeline.
Yes.
I'm not dependent upon anybody else to feed me a lead. And if I'm not dependent upon anybody else to feed me a lead, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what happens with the economy. It doesn't matter what happens with competition. It doesn't matter what happens anywhere else, because I'm 100% in control of what's going on.
And that's where I think salespeople, what they do is they start going down this down escalator, and it keeps going further and further down. They're afraid to prospect. They have nothing in their pipe, so they have nothing in their pipe. They're afraid to and it just keeps going down. But when you start going up, and again, prospecting is about activity, and I can't stress that enough. So many people think, well, I called them twice and they didn't pick up. Well, hey, excuse me, I can have a lot of people call me multiple times and I won't pick up. It's just not going to happen. But you have to create the repetition. As you always say, the sale is made in the follow-up, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's following up. And I think salespeople also struggle with prospecting because they want to prospect 10,000 people. No,
Yeah.
just give me a handful of people I can zero in on and be focused tight with.
Yeah. So Michelle said here, yes, make prospecting a part of your lifestyle. Love it. Yeah. Me too, Michelle. I mean, that's really where it's got to be. But Mark, I love what you just said about the fact that it's about activity. So I had a really bad experience with Hertz when I landed in Sacramento for a speaking engagement in Lake Tahoe. And I've been a Hertz loyalist for a long time, but all the way through, Hertz has handled it really badly. And this was kind of my final straw with Hertz. And so I'm done. I'm not going to be a Hertz loyalist anymore. So I was, I've got to make another car rental for a job I've got out in San Diego. And here I have my choice. I've got every number of every, car club I could join. And all of a sudden I got a little thing through email from National just saying, we miss you and we want you back. And I booked everything. I upgraded my Emerald number. I refired my account and everything for a couple of reasons. Number one, they kept prospecting me, even though I haven't rented a car from them in over 2.5 years. And if they waited for me to reach out to them, I could have chosen Avis. I could have chosen Enterprise. I could have gone a million different directions, but they prospected. I think so much of prospecting is being there when the current customer is unhappy. And the one thing that we know about our competitors is they will drop the ball. They will do a bad job. And if you're the one who is right there, you're going to get that business.
It's staying in the game. That's
Yep.
so spot on what you said, because again, you're right. You had a bad experience. And it's funny because I too have had multiple bad experiences with Hertz. Truth be known, I've drifted
God,
over.
so many people have.
I have drifted over, and you know what? Then those have had bad experiences, and I've come back to Hertz. But anyway, we'll save that for another episode. So anyway, because I'm always afraid I'm going to rent a car from a different agency, and I'm just going to naturally, when I'm returning it to the airport, in a rush, just return it to Hertz, and I go,
Yeah.
oh, no, this belongs to somebody else. Whoa. Anyway, okay, I'm sorry. That was off topic. Here's the whole situation, though. And again, that brings up a good point. Too many salespeople, when they prospect, they get off task. You have to stay focused. There's some great comments that are coming in on the chat line about how prospecting should be focused. If it's focused and not random, exactly. National knew they could keep reaching out to you because you had rented from them 2.5 years. So chances are you're traveling. Just stay in the game, and they got your business. Now it'll be up to them to maintain it, but they got your business. Yeah, prospecting, it's not difficult.
Yeah, I think Derek is so right here, is that it should be focused. I mean, to your point, National reached out to me not only because I had rented from them before, but I'd rented a lot. And if they know anything about my profile, they see I travel a lot. They probably know from their competitor of Hertz that, where my numbers lie in the amount of cars. So Derek's point is so right. I mean, it's your time. Maximize your time. Go after the right prospect. Know that right prospect and focus your efforts there.
And that's so true. It just stay focused. Know who your ideal customer is. Stay focused with them. Know how you can help them. And it's a repetitive model. It's simple. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate it. Yeah. Wow. Hey, time continues to move along here. Should we jump into the book?
Yeah, let's jump into the book. What's on pipe for today?
Well, the book is To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink. Now, here's why I like this book. And okay, I chose the book because that's what prospecting is. It's not a robotic activity. I see so many. See, I wanted to jump into the book early because I got a rant here. So many people, what they do is they think prospecting should be this automated tool. If I just get enough tools in my sales stack, it's going to do it all for me. And you know what? I've got automated tools in my system. I know you do too. We use some of the same tools, but it still comes down to us having a conversation. And that's why, for me, prospecting is really, it's one-to-one human. It's a human to human. I don't know what your thoughts are on that.
Yeah, probably one of the best tips I've ever gotten about prospecting is to make sure that there's a personal reference in a prospect. I mean, we could do a whole show about being prospected by people who clearly know nothing about us. But if you're not making some type of reference that says, me, we've connected, or something about my business, or there would be something of value in there, then I know it is robotic. And I think, Mark, you've done more damage than never to have prospected at all. And I love what Derek said here. Good old palm pressing never fails. Derek, I'm going to elaborate on that a little bit. I mean, palm pressing to me means it's personal. I'm looking you in the eye. I'm connecting with you. And even though most of what we do is virtual this way these days, I can still do that. There's still a connection that says, like I just prospected somebody today, and I noticed that their home office is in Minneapolis. And when I started the prospect, I said, I see you, you live in Minneapolis. I'm in and out of Minneapolis, all the time. I'd love to connect for coffee or in person. What a great town! I've never been someplace that has so many great restaurants. Like all of a sudden, now there's a connection, and it says at least she knows who she's talking to and where she's, what this person is about.
Exactly. How many times have you received that email, or maybe it's a LinkedIn message, right? You get that LinkedIn message where they and you clearly tell, like, man, you haven't even looked at my profile. You have not even, or you looked at my profile totally wrong. I mean, I'm just amazed. And it's creating that personal touch, which goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's not having thousands of people that you're prospecting. It's having a few people that you prospect, and you dig down deep with them. You create a relationship. That person you reached out to, you know what? I have a feeling you'll probably reach out to them multiple times, right? I know.
Absolutely. Yep.
Because once somebody's in your system, you don't let go of them. And that's what it's all about. Because again, what do they begin to understand? They begin to understand who Meridith Elliott Powell is. Oh, yeah. And suddenly there's a credibility and there's a relationship. So this book, To Sell is Human by Daniel Pink, it's been out for a number of years. Pick it up, read it, because again, it comes back to this whole idea of prospecting. It's just a conversation.
Yeah.
It just, I've always thought my next prospecting book is going to be, it's just a conversation, but I don't know, people would take that as something else. So I don't know.
Well, but it is, I don't know if this is what you mean, but it is a little like dating. I mean, when I was single, my first husband passed away. So it was later in life when I was single, and people were always like, you're so easy just to go out with anybody who asks you. And I said, I felt that way. It was just a conversation. And I always thought people overthought it. You never knew who you were going to meet. So even when you prospect somebody, they could introduce you to somebody else. The one thing I know about life is I have never been sorry in starting a conversation with somebody, because it leads me to learn something or connect to somebody else. Even when I've done it on an airplane and I really wanted to work versus have a conversation, it turns into an interesting conversation where I can learn something. I'm such a believer in that outreach and that connection, that will lead to something.
You notice Meredith said, when I want to work. She didn't say I want to sleep. No, she wants to work. Yes, that's okay. Now, here's something very, very interesting. It's the difference between, I think, and I hate to use, I'll just say average people and top performers. Top performers go into every conversation knowing there's something to be learned. There's something there's some insight they're going to gain. That is what makes it so powerful. That's why I think top salespeople are top salespeople, because they approach every conversation with a different attitude. I'm going to learn something here. I'm going to learn something. And again, that's why it comes back to that sales is all about being human. Wow, we are lighting up the chat board here today.
I know. I gotta call Mike.
Yes, I love that comment. I know.
Oh my God, I love it. It says, can't thank you enough for your visit and training to Denver, Meredith. Took your talk and training to heart. 2 years later, top rep by revenue globally. Mike, you are amazing. You can talk about my training all day long, but it is not my training. Do you know how many people we stand in front of, both Mark and I, and train, and people do not take action? That is the power of success. That is the sales rep who does it. That was, I appreciate you calling me out, but congratulations to you. And you just made my month. Thank you.
Yeah. And think about that for a moment. Mike chose to say, hey, I'm going to learn something. And I'm going to apply it. That's why Mike is a top performer. Right?
Yep.
I mean, because he chose to apply it. We've all heard the message. We've all
Yeah.
heard the message 10,000 times as to how to prospect, how to sell, how to close, how to do all the steps, but we don't put it into practice. Mike there put it into practice. And
Yeah.
that's the big difference. Yeah.
You're absolutely right, Derek. I love that one of our audience members is congratulating the other. Way to work, Mike. That is, Mark. I would love to do a whole show sometime. We need to just on the importance of taking action, because even just like we started talking about prospecting here, it's not that complicated.
It's not.
The roadmap is always built on what to do. It is a matter of taking action, and you do not have to build Rome in a day. Small baby steps. If you're not prospecting at all, make 2 calls this week. That is two calls you didn't make last week. Just get started.
Thank you. Because that is, you just make 2 calls, and then you get 2 calls. Then the next day and next week, you make 3 calls. You make 4
Right.
calls. And you just slowly but surely increase it. Anybody can fill a pipe if they're willing to be focused and make the actions happen.
Yeah.
Because here's the whole thing. Too many people expect prospecting to be done for them. No, it's your job. You own it. Wow, great conversations. We should do more Wednesday afternoon shows. I don't know.
We should.
But
This is awesome.
Anyway. Hey, let's jump into the lightning round. Are you ready?
Yeah, let's do it.
Lightning round, 10 ways to overcome the struggles with prospecting. Go.
Number 1 is define who you're prospecting on. Write down your top 10 customers, people you love who make you happy. Figure out who they are and go get more like them.
And I'm going to build on that. You make them happy. What were the outcomes that you helped them achieve? It's the outcomes. That's what you're looking to do with the next people you prospect.
Yeah, go to those customers and ask for a referral. It's one of the best ways to prospect.
I love it. Time block. Always set aside time on your calendar. Time block for prospecting.
Mini prospect. And just like we said, don't build Rome in a day. Decide that you're going to do 1 outreach a day to somebody that you don't know. The compounding effect of that is going to be huge.
Keep it simple. Don't overthink. If in doubt, make the call. Just make the call.
Let go of the close. You're not prospecting to close a deal. You're not prospecting to get an appointment. The action of reaching out is enough.
And the action is to create a next step. You're going to reach out and ultimately, hopefully, create time for another call, another conversation. It's not to get all the way to the finish line.
Yeah, personalize it. Do something personal in that reach out. Note where they went to college, that their company just got an award, the town that they're in. Personalize it.
Great. I'll share one more. You share one more, and we'll close the show down. Hey, if you have the ability to help someone, you have an obligation to reach out to them. Prospecting is doing the other person a service. Yes, you're interrupting them. They don't know about you yet, but you know what? You owe it to them to help them.
Yeah, I'm going to give you the best prospecting tip I ever got, and that was from Ian Altman, great friend of ours, amazing sales guy. If you don't follow Ian, you need to. But he told me that basically what he does is he reaches out by saying, we're seeing a lot and doing a lot of this type of work in your industry. These are the challenges that many people in your industry face. We've got some solutions for these. I'd love to talk to you about that. I think it is a great way to showcase the fact that you're an expert, you understand the industry, and you're only making the call to try to help them.
And you know what? That call, that works whether you're on the phone with somebody. That can work in a voicemail, can work in any format. It worked yesterday when the gentleman came by my door to try to sell me solar panels for my roof. Anyway, hey, with that, and I politely said, no, thank you. By the way, have you noticed the trees? We don't get a whole lot of sun on our roof. Okay, anyway, thank you for listening to Sales Logic this week. If you like what you hear, hey, subscribe, rate, and review the show on your favorite podcast app. If something we've said has earned you a single dollar, consider telling a friend, because hey, it's how we grow to help you grow. I'm Mark Hunter.
And I'm Meridith Elliott Powell.
Remember, when you sell with confidence and integrity,
uncertainty suddenly becomes your competitive advantage.
and the sale becomes logical.
Can't thank you all enough today. Ronell, I'm so glad you got the notification on your phone and you popped in. If ever you feel like you're having a sales challenge, any of our audience members, please reach out to saleslogicpodcast.com. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us what you want us to talk about on this show. And together, we are going to take your sales to the next level. We will see you Saturday morning, 9 a.m. Eastern, for another episode of Sales Logic. See you then.